All quiet on the left, all quiet everywhere, all quiet except for me. Okay, you procrastinators. All y'all. Time is not only wasting, it's about to run out. Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is Saturday. Miss it, and you know or will learn about a woman's memory. It has no term limits and no statute of limitations. Miss Saturday's event. Just plan on a pretty miserable year with sarcastic questions coming to you on a regular basis. Now, remind me, dear, exactly what kind of flowers did you get me last Valentine's?
Mm.
Good Friday Eve, the day before the weekend kicks off. I'm Rayford Brown, and this is Live and Local Real Talk.
Welcome to the 48-hour countdown. I'm Chris Marks.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lee Barrows.
Oh, yes. So, anyway, it's going to be one of them dar days here, and there's not a doubt about that.
To the countdown. That was good.
Join the conversation today and get ready for some heated discussions, or perhaps
Heated.
we may just save what we know for the traditional document dump Friday.
Oh, yeah.
If it's good enough for the federal government, it's good enough for us, right?
Yep.
Why not? That way we can hit and run and let everyone stew about it on socialist media all weekend, giving them a chance for an ignorance display since it's doubtful they'll have a clue what we're talking about. Pretty obvious that in our government ways of transparency, some of those governments will keep it to themselves, hoping they have already fooled the voters and hope they can hide the pea under the right shell long enough so the people they've already fooled and those who really didn't care one way or the other, those are the ones we call clueless, won't know what hit them until it's all over and the champagne corks are popping as the con men and women celebrate their ability to disprove the old adage, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time, because you really can. It can be done. If it wasn't, they wouldn't have people in office for 40, 50, 60 years.
That still is so embarrassing. And but are we going to have any government going on after Friday?
Yes, it's only a partial.
Partial shutdown, TSA?
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. I mean, this happens all the time.
Well, I know it does, but
Yeah.
with TSA shutting down?
No, they won't. They'll get it. They'll get it resolved.
Just half of them.
I think
you. It's kind of like the old thing about the farmer in the watermelon patch.
Huh?
He said, put a sign out. One of these watermelons is poison. You pick which one.
Oh.
But then the next morning when he got out there was another sign. Now there are two.
I think the government shutdown is the least of the talk right now coming out of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Yesterday, with the Attorney General Pam Bondi going before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday.
Sacrificial lamb.
Lord, did you watch any of that? Or did you see any clips from it? Oh, well, let's just say it's political. The Democrats went after her like crazy. And it just got to be a shouting match.
One question. Did she hold her own? Because I saw nothing, okay?
Oh, she did. She told one congressman that he was a waste of a lawyer, that he wasn't really even a lawyer. I mean, it went back and forth. The insults back and forth.
So another waste of my tax dollars and more stuff that did not get done, and more bills that have been up there sitting idle. And they just won't throw them to the wolves or just adopt them or pass them, do something with them, because they're wasting their time, which means my money.
That is a great idea. Take a week to pass all the bills that have been sitting there for
years. And if you don't get it done, they're done. Dump them. Pass them or dump them.
Oh, such dreamers.
Well, I mean,
it makes sense.
It makes logical sense.
Wait till I get to be president.
I wish you would. Go ahead.
Do you think Trump is stirring up stink? Well, I know how to stir up stink. I've used a stick out in the yard sometimes to move stuff around, and I know how to stir up stink, especially in July.
I just want to know, every time there's some type of committee hearing, turn into a battle of children.
Because we came from England, where Parliament is located. We learned from the best. Our forefathers learned from the best. Learn not what not to do, and that's the reason we have a constitution. And we learn to put some provisions in that constitution to protect us from the likes of the English governments. There's more than one. But we forgot that we're still doing things just like they did. We fight. We've got so many loopholes in everything that we've written and that we've adopted over the years. You know, to adopt these bills, particularly those in the criminal statutes, which I was laws in North Carolina, for instance, who writes and adopts those laws? Who brings them forth? Do you think the Joe Blow plumber does? No, it's a lawyer. The lawyers are the ones who write laws in North Carolina and in every the state too. They put them together. They come up with these laws, right?
Right.
Guess what a lawyer does best? He will build in loopholes in those laws, something that his fellow lawyers and him one day might be able to have to use when they've got a client that has committed a crime in violation of one of those laws that he wrote. If I got a built-in loophole, I can get them off. And that is what occurs way too often. That's my take on it. What's yours?
Well, I can see your point. But at one point yesterday, Representative Becca Balint stormed out of the chamber after an especially fiery confrontation over anti-Semitism. Earlier, Bondi declared she will not get in the gutter with this woman after a Democrat calls for her to apologize to Epstein survivors who were in the room. And another clash, Bondi calls the top Democrat on the committee, Jamie Raskin, a washed-up loser lawyer. I about fell off the couch when she did that. But, you know,
She sounds like me, doesn't she?
I have to say, while I feel both sides are wrong in the way they ask the questions and answer the questions, I have to give it to her. She's not going to sit there and let them beat up on her and accuse her of stuff that they shouldn't be accusing her of.
Here's my take on these hearings like this. They're platforms for both sides to get up and make statements. They're not there for fact finding, which is what they're supposed to be getting. They're supposed to be getting answers. No. They're making statements. Is it true, Lee, that you one time did yada yada yada?
Yes, I did.
No, it's and therefore they take that as an opportunity to say this is a fact. No, it's not. You're there to ask questions to find out what the facts are. A judge would not let you get away with that in courtroom.
Right.
They'll sooner or later, when they wake up on the bench, they'll catch on, and they will stop you from that line of questioning. But we need an outsider. Maybe they should require the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to be in on all of these sessions. I mean, every town, every county has a lawyer on staff or on contract, right?
Yes.
Right.
Guess who attends their meetings for the county boards, the city councils? Their lawyer. Why don't we have an outside person there to answer questions and to look over? Wait a minute, hold on. That's not a legitimate question. Would you like to rephrase that? We need somebody like that. And it cannot be the political chairman of the whatever committee or house it is, or the Senate or what. We cannot have that person being in charge.
Here's an idea. Put a sergeant of arms in these hearings.
Yeah, with a gun.
Well, they do have them. Like in Congress, they have them.
Yeah.
They don't
But they don't do
usually-
anything. Only if you have to be removed.
I've seen it done locally too. So whenever there was some controversial coming up on the agenda, but
Well, that sergeant at arms has a pair of handcuffs waiting for you. if
you have
don't
one
comply.
at the county commissioner meetings. You have the sheriff at every single meeting.
Yeah.
If he's not there,
And
and he has
deputies.
extra deputies, and city hall, you have police there too. So
But I'm serious about sergeant of arms. You can't get the way they do it. The way I see they do it is the person that's sitting up there doing the grilling of the witness will not let the witness answer the question,
That's right.
and if give that person a chance to answer.
Well,
and if it's not the answer that you're wanting, you're interrupting this person from answering the question.
I don't know what you're talking about here,
That's-
Chris, but y'all shouldn't be talking like that. I mean, this is
Don't
these are-
interrupt me.
See, that's exactly the childish antics that they
Yes.
have.
Well, yesterday in the committee hearing, there was at
You
one
made
point,
your point very clearly.
Thank you.
it was nothing but it was a slice and dice yesterday. A knife going here, a knife going there. She making remarks she shouldn't have made. The questioner making remarks they shouldn't have made. I mean, children. These are the people that we voted to put in our government, regardless of what side of the sphere you're on. But there was one point yesterday when one congresswoman asked Pam Bondi or made a very nasty statement. And you know what Pam's response was? Your time's up. Let's move on. And I'm like, yeah, this is what our people. I mean, these committee hearings to me are a waste of time
They are.
because it's the two sides pitted against each other.
And a waste of time is a waste of my money.
And you know, the left side has so much hatred for Donald Trump. So anybody that Donald Trump has appointed as FBI director, attorney general, whatever, they get before that committee and man, they are sliced into so many pieces. It's just, what have you accomplished? Yesterday, nothing was accomplished. It was just like, I'm going to throw rocks at you and you're going to throw them right back at me. It's just a waste of time.
And a waste of Rayford's money.
Yep.
And
All
my
our
money. And
All our
know what?
money.
Everybody's
Tax
money.
dollars, and you know, it's just right
Elsie's
down
money.
the drain.
Elsie's money. Ann's money.
Richard's
Chris's
money.
money. Richard
Chris's
said-
money.
Chris says
All
you're
our
back
Chris,
in
listeners.
your
Chris,
element.
and Chris's money.
Chris, and Chris's. That's right.
Or Richard said you're back in your element, Rayford.
Yeah, you'll have your headphones on. And that one
We don't-
picture, that cartoon caricature that I put on Facebook of the three of us, and he had made the comment that you didn't look like you because you didn't have your headphones on.
I had earbuds in that day.
So anyway, yeah.
I got hearing aids and earbuds.
910-333-0139. Give us a call.
Okie dokie. We let's get up to the update, the latest information
Oh
on
my gosh.
the story that's still near the top. We're at the top of the list after almost 2 weeks now. That's a lifetime on the national level, by the way, on the
Right.
news cycle. When you're talking about a disturbing crime against an elderly, frail woman, but it is the news cycle. And what's been news will slowly make it to the jump sheet sooner than later. Okay, on Saturday night or the early hours of Sunday, the 1st of February, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, in case y'all have been sleeping under a rock, was apparently abducted from her home in Tucson by at least one man. Evidence that's been shared with the media showed it was likely forced removal from the house, that some blood droplets were left behind. These are all the facts that y'all will probably recall over the last 10 days, 2 weeks almost. Security cameras had been tampered with, but after a week and a court order, video from at least one camera gave investigators some sense of what went down. It kind of disenfranchised a few people who were naysayers. A heavily disguised male entered through the front door.
Creepy.
It appears he was armed with a handgun, as Lee has observed yesterday when she first saw the video. A small gun in an oversized holster, obviously not made for that gun, and strapped across his crotch.
Yeah.
The FBI has received a number of tips from callers who said they possibly recognized the guy from various characteristics. Anything from the way he walked. That's one of the things I noticed as he was walking away from the door. He was having a little bit of issue moving to the left. And they looked at one frame of his eye that was captured.
They're
Yep,
spooky.
Those little things, as we know here, I know personally,
Yes.
have resulted in the arrest and conviction of a man.
Schrader.
Identification, yep.
Mhm.
Then yesterday, a glove resembling the glove in the video was found near the Guthrie home, about a couple of miles away. It was caught on a bush near a road. So far, more than 15,000 tips have come in.
Right.
Now, that in itself is a volume, and you've got to go through, and there's always a chance that those people who are going through them will overlook one that turns out to be very important. But you've got to understand, some of those tips are going to be so far-fetched. Well, it looks like Donald Trump, or it looks like,
It was Donald Trump,
it looks like this, or it looks like whatever.
wasn't it?
And those are the things they have to eliminate right up
Right.
front. Initially, a ransom demand of $1 million was given. Then it became 6 million. The deadline for delivery on both times came and went. As far as the public knows, no other demands have been made. As far as the public knows, according to the FBI, no other demands have been made as far as they know. Nancy Guthrie is the widowed mother of 3 children, one of them being Samantha Guthrie, the co-host of the NBC Today Show. Though authorities have questioned at least one person, a man who was stopped by deputies because of a possible resemblance, but he was not named a suspect. But no one has been named a suspect, and the man they stopped was cleared during the interview session they had with him. Then he went to the media and said, "Hey, I'm the guy that," and now he says, "I want my name cleared. You need to come out there and say you didn't do it." No, you're the one who put your name out there. Nobody else did. Things that we know are happening. The method of payment for the ransom was Bitcoin. The FBI continues to monitor Bitcoin exchanges, as do who God knows how many other people. It would be obvious that family, friends, associates, and area nut jobs are being looked at, have been looked at, will be looked at, perhaps even interviewed in a friendly sort of way, as well as it's a process they use called elimination. I know you get rid of everything else as a possibility, and you're left with whatever is left standing is last man standing type thing. Searches by ground and air are obviously ongoing. They found the glove. May have passed that same bush with that glove was probably blowing around out there in that area because it got caught finally on a bush.
Right.
And then it got spotted. But it got spotted after this glove was shown on TV and everywhere else on that video. Nobody, they could have walked by that glove for years and not paid any attention to it. How much stuff have you walked by for years and not paid any attention to? The man they want likely knows all of this from news reports, so we're not giving anything away to this dude. Kudos to the FBI. They're not releasing anything critical.
Absolutely.
They're keeping their mouth shut.
That's right.
And the sheriff there has pretty much taken a back seat, and he's saying, okay, let's let the big boys do this. They can either screw it up or they'll fix it. We don't want to screw it up.
Right.
Like y'all, we're waiting for what we hope will be miracle news and on the edge of what we fear. All of us in this country are just exactly the same, in the same boat. We all fear the worst. Some people will say it's inevitable. And if you look at some of the logical stuff, yeah, it probably is inevitable according to the way people are thinking, but not necessarily that way. There have been all sorts of miracles that have popped up over the years, as we know. Cold case files where people who have been missing since they were a baby, 30, 40 years later. There was one recently reunited after 80 years. Not missing, but they were separated at birth.
Right.
But whatever, it's all sorts of good stuff. Now, what's going on now? Nancy Guthrie's neighbor, she looked at the video and look what that showed. And she says, maybe there's a connection there. After she looked at the doorbell footage, it doesn't take but one person noticing a particular limp, the way somebody walks. The shoes were pointed out yesterday. Pay attention to the shoes. They highlighted the backpack straps on there, special stuff, likely reflector tape that was put on. A lot of people put reflector tape on their backpacks. Some of those backpacks come with it. Wonder in Tucson if this was a ski mask. Wonder how many ski masks were bought in the week or two leading up to this kidnapping.
Well, see, that's what they're talking about right now.
In Tucson.
They've taken the backpack.
Yes.
And they have traced that to Ozark Mountain manufacturer, and that they sell them at Walmart.
Yeah. But the backpacks you understand, but who buys a ski mask?
Right.
in Tucson. I would definitely check any recent purchases.
Yeah, that's what they're
if they-
doing
if they
right
can
now.
do that. Somebody may recall someone.
And the backpack didn't it have lights on the front of the
No,
straps?
there were reflector
I think it's
Those were
strips.
reflectors?
Yeah.
They're good reflectors.
Well, pick up a little bit of light in those things. Just glisten.
Well,
Yeah.
think about having a Ring camera doorbell.
Yeah.
Now, mine lights up as you approach it, and it could be that light from that Ring
Yeah.
doorbell that's reflecting off the reflectors on his backpack. They say the backpack comes like that with the reflectors
Right.
on there. So they're doing, that they've going through every Walmart, every Amazon, purchase everything they can. They'll trace it down. But early this morning, the Pima County Sheriff's Office forensic team was out in the dark this morning. Well, it's still dark there, and they're searching along the sides of the roads and in the woods. So it was the forensic team. So they're still continuing. And then the latest reports that have come out this morning is that it was a pair of gloves, not
Yeah,
just
that's what I
one.
heard.
But law enforcement has not verified any
Yeah,
of that.
okay.
So
Let me ask Rayford, as a former law enforcement, if you got a pair of gloves on, do you not have fingerprints on the inside?
Yes and no. If you wear a pair of these doctor's
What, the surgical
snap
gloves?
yeah, they're easy to.
This guy
not
doesn't look
easy
that
to.
smart.
Well, and he was wearing not surgical gloves. Now, getting fingerprints off of all cloth is not the easiest thing in the world, but getting DNA, you're going to be sweating inside those gloves. You're going to be doing whatever inside those gloves. You know what
Right.
I mean? You could have some skin that came off, some particles of skin. We all shed all the time.
right.
And that's all DNA traceable.
So I'll open this up to both of you, because if I don't know the answer, I'm going to ask the question.
Okay.
Now, I do have my fingerprints are on file with the FBI.
Mhm.
Is Joe just Joe average?
No.
No. So when they find these fingerprints, they say we're going to try to match them up.
If
Unless
they-
they have a criminal history.
If they do a crime, their fingerprints will be on file somewhere.
Right.
Searching for those fingerprints is a lot faster today than it used to be. It used to be, finding those fingerprints is a lot faster, but that still is going through a database. If those fingerprints were submitted, and not all police departments always submitted the fingerprints in the past to the FBI database center, then they have computers that go brrrr,
Right.
faster than the speed of light.
What do they call that?
And
But Joe average does not have their fingerprints
if
on the
they're
file.
ever military,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be there. If you've ever committed a felony,
Mm-hmm.
you're fingerprinted. Going to be there somewhere. If your local police department submitted those to the FBI back in 1974, if you are an illegal alien, the chances of either your DNA or your fingerprints being on fire are zero.
Okay,
Right,
so
right.
one
I'm
of our
just
listeners,
saying.
like Tom, who just said good morning, we know he has fingerprints on file.
I got mine on file
Probably.
so many times it's
Well,
disgusting.
yeah. But maybe Miss Elsie.
You got a concealed carry permit?
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why mine are on.
Yours
yeah,
are there.
yeah.
These are
But,
there.
but Miss Elsie or Miss Ann, whoever the ladies that are listening, likely do not. A Pizza Domino's driver probably does not.
I don't know. Depends.
Yeah. So I was just curious. I mean, because they're, I know the FBI are involved for their knowledge and
There
techniques.
are
But
folks out there that at one time, I don't know if you recall it, there was come by the sheriff's office. So we got a special thing set up for all of
Oh, your
the children
children.
that you have
Yeah.
to save them, just
Right.
to be able to locate them or have something
Yeah.
on file. But that's not done anymore that I know of.
I have Hannah and Jordan's from Belfork Elementary
Yep.
when they did it there, but I don't know
How
if
long
they
ago
do.
was that?
Hannah's 30, Jordan's from a long time ago.
Has
Yeah.
anybody done that recently?
I don't believe.
I can tell you back in 75,
Mhm.
my fingerprints were taken and put on file with the State Bureau of Investigation because I had to go
Yeah.
through the Private Protective Services
Sure.
Board to get my license to be an armed guard and to be a private investigator. And then later on, I had the federal firearms license for Sportsman's Lodge when we built it. So my fingerprints are on file. Everybody's got them. Sheriff's office is taking them, of course, for the concealed carry permit that I have yet to get.
That you don't need.
Oh, hush. Anyway, I'm not worried about it. Our sheriff's office is good, and they'll get me that renewal card soon.
This is one of the good things I do like about that.
Yes.
That means there are a lot of people in this county. You bad guys,
Absolutely.
you bad guys need to understand there are a lot of really good people in this county,
Right.
and they've got guns.
Right.
Are you willing to risk it? You know what? I can't think of many places in this county that I would go breaking into a home in the middle of the night. Do you know what your chances of living are? Pretty close to about 25% that somebody won't shoot you if you break into their house. Most people are going to shoot you because they're afraid. And if you're in fear, you have an absolute, total legal right to shoot.
And when we say Onslow County, by the way, folks, we're talking about all the municipalities. We're including Swansboro, Richland.
Right.
I'm going to go outside Onslow, everybody, anywhere. But Onslow County Sheriff is processing. And then, as it turns out, after they got their permits in the first place, then they have to have them renewed every 5 years.
Yeah.
So the process too.
Something I meant to add to the Nancy Guthrie story that came up yesterday. Harvey Levin with TMZ, I kind of have a new respect for him yesterday, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I mean, I don't watch TMZ, but they did receive an email yesterday from an unidentified person who claims they know who the kidnapper is, but they are asking for 1 Bitcoin first in order to spread the information, in order to give it. And of course, a Bitcoin costs around 66,000, whatever in US dollars. But I think all of these ransom notes, all of this others, I think that is just people trying to cash in on what has happened. But it's amazing to me, but Fox News did an interview with Harvey yesterday, and he would not give up information. He goes, no, I don't feel comfortable telling this. No, and he could, if he wanted to, give out all the information, but this is the 3rd time he's been contacted now, and he will not give the information out to the general public. He's given it to the FBI. That's just it. And I think that's good.
So, real quick before we go into weather, so a Bitcoin is 66,000.
66,000. It's a little over $66,000 for 1 Bitcoin. So that's the US dollar worth.
Okay,
but look
so
at this, Chris. The daggone Crime Stop or whatever, the reward is $50,000. Wouldn't you just go ahead and give the information?
Oh, no.
Take that sure 50,000.
Up to five.
No, I'm talking about for the Guthrie case.
Right.
The FBI has offered
yes.
$50,000.
Wouldn't you go ahead and take that if you had to, rather than do this secret Bitcoin stuff?
My question's going to be
16,000 more.
And whoever wants to answer after the weather
That's
is
the 1 Bitcoin.
If there's $300.
They want $6 million worth.
No. This is entirely new.
Okay.
This is new. What happened yesterday? Sorry, Chris.
No.
This is someone claiming that sent an email to TMZ claiming that they have the information. They know who the kidnapper is. They will give it, but they want 1 Bitcoin in payment in advance, which tells you it is fake. But 1 Bitcoin is worth 66,000 and some odd dollars in U.S. currency.
Here's what's going to occur with that.
Yeah, they're going to find them. You going to jail.
When they track that individual down, then they're going to charge that individual with interfering and obstruction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if they've got information and they're not giving it up, but they're demanding basically a ransom for the information,
right.
Maybe you can share a cell with those people.
Yeah, bad move.
Well,
good morning, Jim. It's weather time.
Well, for a midwinter report on the marine weather and what the next few days here along this coast have in store, offshore out to 20 nautical miles, quit whispering. Northerly winds 10 to 15 knots, becoming northwesterly 5 to 10 in the afternoon. Seas 3 to 5, subsiding to 2 to 3 this afternoon. Near shore seas 2 to 3 feet. Sounds and rivers a moderate chop, diminishing to a light chop in the afternoon. Friday, Northerly winds 15 to 20, diminishing to 10 to 15 in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 4, sounds and rivers choppy, diminishing to a moderate chop by the afternoon on tomorrow. Saturday, westerly winds. Westerly winds. When the winds are from the west, the fishing is best. 5 to 10 knots, nice and calm. They'll switch around to the southwest in the afternoon, nice and warm. Seas around 2 feet, only 1 foot near shore. A good day to test the waters offshore. Forget about surfing. Sounds and rivers a light chop.
Don't you have to have 2 feet when you're offshore like that? Okay. Today, sunny with
You have something against those people who are handicapped with only 1 foot?
Stop. Well, it's hard to roll a wheelchair in the sand, Rayford.
No, it's not.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Today.
I know a guy named Red who did just that. It motorized with balloon tires on it.
That's cool.
Yes.
That is cool. Okay. Today. Keep your finger off the button over there. I see you. Today, sunny with a high near 56.
That's not what she meant, guys.
Northwest wind 5 to 7 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 27. Friday, sunny with a high near 53. Saturday, sunny with a high near 60. And Sunday, rain mainly in the afternoon with a high near 64. So if you're anticipating and watching Daytona Sunday afternoon, which starts at 2:30, we may have a rain delay because Florida's getting hit too.
They don't have windshield wipers on those cars?
There's some tracks that they do use all-weather tires and
windshield wipers.
They did in the Clash.
But they did. But you're not going to do that at Daytona. That's a restrictor plate raceway, and
restrictor plate raceway.
You'll have to be into it, Rayford.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing what,
Control
over 200 miles an hour. One little wiggle and it all goes crazy.
I've noticed that before.
Cars in the fence.
Randy, one of our fellow ham radio guys out there in the southwest area of Onslow County, reported 34 degrees this morning and 57% humidity. No wind. Had 0.06 inches in the rain gauge. He said it was clear and cloudless. Lee, over in the back swamp, the other Lee in the back swamp area, he said it was 31 this morning. This was all about 5:30. 75% humidity. 0.07 inches in his rain gauge. 29.86 inches of mercury. Joe in the borough, 36 degrees, 80% humidity. No wind, and 0.09 inches in his rain gauge, 29.87 inches of mercury. Ward and Cedar Point, up to 36 degrees there, 92% humidity, a light breeze, nothing in the rain gauge, 29.9. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He had 0.08 inches in his rain gauge at Cedar Point, 29.96 inches of mercury. Bryson, also in the borough, Swansboro, 33 degrees this morning, 66%. Humidity, calm wind, 29.75 inches of mercury. Dale and Carroll up there in Riverbend was 33, had dropped to 31 when he called in about a little bit before 7 o'clock, and 63% humidity to begin with, up to 69%. Calm, no wind, and 0.05 inches in the rain gauge. Lee in the Woodlands, over there right off Gum Branch Road, 36 degrees. 62% humidity, southwesterly winds 0 to 2 miles per hour, 0.02 inches in the rain gauge, 30.08 inches of mercury. And here at the studio in the country club area at early this morning, it was 33 degrees. It's now 28 degrees. Humidity was 71%. It has jumped to 91%. We've got some humidity out there now. Winds are out of the southwest, so we're then at 2 miles an hour.
Wow.
And winds are now calm here at the studio.
Very nice.
We had nothing in the rain gauge, so I'm not sure. I didn't see any water yesterday. I had no rain where I was.
Well, there was fog last night that was thick as pea soup.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and 258. Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't hit any of the deer. But special hello to Jim and to Jonathan Diaz, one of our SROs.
Hey, Jonathan. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, yes. He's one of they're all good, all the SROs.
And speaking of Jim, he sent me a flyer this morning and wanted us to share. It is concerning a church services the Holy Spirit Fire Conference. Agape Life Family Church, 220 Franktown Road, Richlands, North Carolina. Thursday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Friday, February 27th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, February 28th at 9 a.m. It's a conference, and you've got Pastor Jim Jarman, you've got Apostle Kenneth Lester, Pastor Anthony Merritt, Pastor Ron, I can't read
Computer
it.
type is
Stripling.
getting small.
Not sure, and I apologize if I didn't read his name right. Pastor Dean Perry and Bishop Will Smith. They're all going to be there. I will post all this information on our
I
page.
didn't know Will Smith was a pastor.
But Pastor Jim,
Prince.
he's an avid listener.
I
Jim.
thought he was Prince.
And
The Fresh Prince. From where?
Oh, no, now Will's had some
There's
stuff in the past. We probably don't want to go there.
coming
Actor.
up in a little while.
Yes, he's
Very
going to
soon.
be
Calling in.
on with us in the latter part of the show because
Okay.
we have a special guest, and we just got all this done last night. We have Don Brown. He's a candidate running for United States
And
Senate.
no kin to me.
No kin to Rayford.
No kin to the guys in Beulaville with the same name. Too
Right,
old.
right. He's from the western part of the state. We'll be talking to him. He will actually be
confusing.
in the studio this morning.
Yay, a captive audience. In other
Yes,
words.
he was in Lake Norman last night.
Lake Norman last
Yes,
night.
he was at an event last night in
You've
Lake
been
Norman.
driving all morning then.
And they were going to leave last night after the event
4
and
hours
drive to Jacksonville because he felt it was important
Ooh.
enough that he wanted to actually be in person. So,
Now, why is he coming? He's
running for U.S. Senate.
there. You go.
Yes.
One of our two U.S. senators, Tom Tillis, been around for a couple terms, 12
Yes.
years, as I recall.
He has thrown his.
He said last year, he said, I'll serve one more year, but not beyond my term. I'm serving 2 terms, and that's it.
Right.
So everybody's come out of the woodworks and wants to be the U.S. senator from North Carolina, and
That's quite a
that's
few.
good.
Mm-hmm.
We get quality candidates to choose from, and so that's always a good thing.
It is.
Right.
And so since he's going to be here, and there's going to be very few chances for you, the voter, to ask questions, 910, write it down, 910-333-0139. He'll take calls.
Willie, you don't know.
I'm
we-
sure he will.
We
I don't
will ask him. We
We'll
always
ask him.
give
That's
our
Charlie
guests.
calling.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
always give our guests the opportunity to
Right. And I'm sure he
take
will.
calls if they want.
Right.
But sometimes their time is limited, and as we know, sometimes they can get bogged down in a call. So if he does take calls, and I will not screen them, but if you don't get to
There's
a point
1,
somewhere, and
2,
you're out here to
3,
make a
4,
statement
5,
instead of
6,
ask
7.
questions and get a response,
Yeah.
then I will take care of that.
There are 7 people on the ballot running for this seat, U.S. Senate.
Wow.
One of them has been disqualified. So there's actually only 6 that you can
But
vote
he's
for. Well, you
still
can
on
vote
the
for
ballot.
the 7th, Margaret Dupree.
Mhm.
She's been ruled as ineligible. But you have, it's a total of 7.
All right, we got a call from the other coast.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
from the West Coast.
Charlie, how are you? Good morning.
Charlie, good morning.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're great. How are you?
We're doing good.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I'm okay. So I was watching something yesterday on YouTube, and they showed all these executives from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, and they were questioned about why they released phone records of so many people in Washington. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Are you is it the Epstein files or what? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
No, this was during it was during Jack Smith when he was the probe. So I did chat GTP. It said the probe relates to the broader investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election, the January 6th Capitol incident. So they basically Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. I guess the people. The politicians basically said, "Listen, we want to get all the information that these politicians have. We want all their phone conversations. We want all the records of their texts." And they released everything. AT&T was the only one that didn't release anything. So I'm looking at it right now, and it says senators like Lindsey Graham and Josh Hawley accused Verizon of failing to protect user data and not alerting lawmakers about their subpoenas because they released information about their phone calls. It said Senator John Kennedy also raised allegations about racial quotas and criticized Verizon CEO for their racial quotas. Does this make any sense to you guys, or am I just throwing something at you that you're not aware of?
I heard about it. I have real problems when you're doing fishing expeditions and going widespread, and just it's kind of like we did during this insurrection issue back in the day, the storming of the Capitol and all of that crap. I had problems, and I still have problems with wholesale looking for every credit card receipt for everybody that came in from North Carolina or any other place who stayed in Washington or near Washington, ate dinner or breakfast or went to a McDonald's. And we want to investigate every one of them as being possible insurrectionists. No, I don't like that. Fishing expeditions, I do those. I know what I'm getting into. I go offshore. I throw some lines with bait in the water, and if something grabs it, cool. That's not illegal. Fishing expeditions by law enforcement should be totally illegal, and definitely they are inappropriate. Go ahead.
So the Republican senators, it happened yesterday or the day before. Mm-hmm. They criticized the telecom companies for turning over phone records of sitting GOP lawmakers. Senators like Lindsey Graham and Josh Hawley accused Verizon of failing to protect user data and not alerting lawmakers about their subpoenas. It was basically they were trying to find out what the Republican GOP members were relating back and forth in their exchanges. They all gave up the information freely, and the only company that didn't was AT&T. So if you go online, Josh Hawley's like basically Verizon is I don't know if I could use the S word. They're full of this. T-Mobile is full of this. They're going to sell you out. The only company that didn't answer the subpoena and didn't provide all the information was AT&T.
Well, good for AT&T, to be absolutely honest with you. They're protecting their customers. And if you've got, if you want the guy's records, if you got enough information that you can present to a magistrate, federal magistrate or whatever, a U.S. attorney, then go after that individual, not just wholesale of everybody. If I want to get Chris's records here, I can subpoena him. He has to turn over his records. He would have to turn them over, make them available. The monkey would be on his back to do it, and if he didn't do it, then you know what? He didn't obey the subpoena. You go to jail. Not a problem. But just wholesale going after them through another company, wrong.
I'd say AT&T made the right choice.
I did too. I do too. And I'm absolutely 99.99% plus in favor of law enforcement, but not using every tactic that is possible. I mean, there are tactics out there that I could use that I wouldn't even like myself for using them. You understand?
Yeah.
Let me ask you one last thing. I'm trying to throw up something really quick if I can find it. They're talking about this bill that with regards to showing your ID. I'm trying to find it right now.
Yep.
There's something about, in Thomas Massey, it seems like there are like 50, 60 things as American citizens, when we go out in public where we have to show our ID. I think when you go when you rent a car, there's like 50 or 60 things, but the Democrats don't want individuals to show their IDs when voting. I wish I had I don't have it up.
Well, yeah, I had to show ID when I got my Sam's card to go buy stuff at a grocery store. I had to show ID when I wanted to check out a book from the library. I had to show my ID sometimes to get into the bathroom. I definitely have to show the ID to go to the liquor store, to go get a drink at a bar or at a restaurant. Hello, sorry, get off your pot, Democrats. You're just absolutely in la-la land.
But why is it? So do they basically say to themselves, listen, we can't win, so we have to cheat?
Yes.
So we just want anyone to show up? I mean, why would they want that in the United States of America?
I mean, look at the millions that have come into this country, and many of them have been able to get IDs, like driver's licenses in California, and they can actually vote as illegal aliens in California on a statewide election. They can't vote for the feds, but who's to stop them when they show up and voting for the governor of California? Who's going to stop them from voting for the president? Duh.
It's really bizarre. Like if I was a Democrat and I would go home and if I had kids and I would want to say, hey, Daddy, if I was a child, like, hey, Daddy, what did you accomplish today? Like, well, we're trying to screw the United States of America. These people are really, they're monstrous individuals. I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but I understand why they're doing it.
All right. Well, listen, maybe I'm going to watch your show. Yeah, I love your show. I don't understand why you guys don't have like 500, 2,000, 10,000 viewers, but I like your show. So I'll leave it
Thank
there.
you,
Thank you,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Chuck. Bye.
Chuck.
He likes it when I call him Chuck. His name is Charles, Charlie, whatever's.
They're that close.
Yeah, I got, there's at least one more person in here now that we can do battle with y'all. Because when this earth was first formed, did you know that every person on this earth was named Brown? Those who did not screw up could keep their name. Those who screwed up had to change their names. Welcome aboard, Don. How are you?
Rayford, it's good to be here. I know we're kin somewhere down the line. We're from we're both from Eastern North Carolina. There's got to be a bloodline there somewhere, brother.
Did you have to do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he threw the softball. I hit the softball in the first pitch.
We'll never
Don Brown, one of them SWAT guys too, right?
That's right. That's what it is.
You know the difference between the Coast Guard and the Navy?
Go ahead. Here we go.
When the Coast Guard boats sink, they can walk ashore.
Hey, at least the Navy boats give you boys a ride to Iwo Jima. You know, at least we're an effective taxi cab for you, right? I hear that one,
But
right?
when your boat sinks, we have to come get you.
That's right. Well, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Chris and
I signed up for this abuse voluntarily, and I'm going to take my punches. So there you
Rock
go.
it on.
Chris and I are Marine brats, so we're out of this.
Yeah.
We're out.
Well, the Navy's got to haul you around.
Oh, here we go.
That's for
Hey,
the Marines to get the job
I
done.
was doing some work. Y'all remember Walter Jones, of course.
Yes,
And
very well.
we were doing some work with Walter. I was working to help
I knew him
launch
very
an
well.
investigation by the House Armed Services Committee into shoot down of Extortion 17. And Walter Jones was a prince of a guy who stood for our enlisted guys, didn't take BS off political high-ranking officers in the Pentagon. Anyway, there's a side story to it. When I was up in Walter's office one day around, I guess it was 2017, 18, somewhere in there, and he said, I just told this colonel that I'd introduced a bill to change the name of the Department of the Navy, the Department of the Navy, the Marine Corps. And Walter said, what do you think about that, Colonel? And he said, the colonel said, I don't like it. And the Congress said, why is that, Colonel? The colonel said it should be the Department of the Marine Corps and the Navy. So there you go.
They're all wonderful men and women.
And if you ever get a bunch of military guys in the same room at the same time, if it's in a bar, you're going to have a fight.
Hey,
If it's
well, one thing the Navy and Marine Corps got in common, we both drink our coffee black. Air Force is cream and sugar, you know. So somebody tell me they want cream and sugar.
Did you say Air Force? Did you say Air Force or Air Force?
We love whatever you want to call them. They like cream and sugar in their coffee.
Yeah.
Chris, how many comments have we got so far on this?
Anyway, it's all fun, and I tell you what, it doesn't matter which one of the branches of our military that you're in or that's out there fighting. When you're fighting this country, you're fighting all of them,
Right,
and
right.
all of them are going to be fighting you equally, and you're going to suffer,
Amen to that, brother.
brother. You are going to suffer.
Well,
That is, if you get by the civilians, we might not let you get to them first.
well, Rayford, of course, I'm running for U.S. Senate, and we finished up with an event at Lake Norman in Mecklenburg County last around 10 o'clock.
I brought that up this morning. How in the
Bless
Sam
your heart.
Hill did you? That's
Hey,
4+ hours. From
I'm
here.
making a statement for our veterans and our Marines. I wanted to be here with you all
Okay.
on the first morning of early voting. I am a native of Eastern North Carolina, but I want to be here in this studio as a sign of solidarity to our vets and our Marines.
Where are you actually from?
I grew up in a little town called Plymouth. So if you,
I know where that is.
Yeah, we were famous at one time for having the largest pulp and paper mill
That's
east of
right.
Mississippi until NAFTA basically gutted most of
Yep.
it. And we're famous for the smell that it produced. And
Yep.
we used to say it smelled like money. You know what I mean?
Like money.
There were several places in Eastern North Carolina and one in South Carolina down there. You had you had to drive through it before 95 came into being.
That's right.
To get anywhere south
Yeah.
of Myrtle Beach, you had to drive through this little place. God, you could smell it from miles away.
Mhm.
Well, it's a doggone shame. We missed the smell. Now, that plant had employed about 3,500 when I was in high school and growing up, and brought in folks from all over the country, from Oregon and Oklahoma, where Weyerhaeuser had other big factories. Now they're down to about 300. The principal owner is Domtar. Weyerhaeuser has a small, I think, a plywood plant still there. Now the largest employer in Washington County. My home county, Washington County, is the poorest county in the state of North Carolina.
Really?
Yep. And there are 11,000 people in the county. Plymouth is the county seat. And the largest employer is social services. It's a shame. That's what NAFTA did. NAFTA and most favored nation status to China, the World Trade Organization, all that has gutted pulp and paper in North Carolina. It's gutted our textile industry. I've been in Cabarrus County speaking to the GOP. I asked, where are our textile mills? And then you go to High Point and you ask the same question, where are the furniture mills?
You got to have a passport to go visit them.
Yeah. And so anyway, my hometown is a sad example of what NAFTA and some of these Democrat trade policies have done to this country. And we had Republicans on board with it, unfortunately. The globalist Republicans on board with shipping our labor and shipping our manufacturing overseas. And don't even get me started on that, guys.
Okay, Don, you're one of 6 now. I think one's been kicked out.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Margaret to
6 Republicans vying for the nomination for U.S. Senator from the great state of North Carolina. We have 2. One's not up for re-election. The other one has bowed out, Senator Tillis. I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy. We've been up towers together, literally. State Port's crane towers. We climbed those steps to get up there.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was some interesting times over the years, and of course he's caught a lot of grief because he went in saying, I want to be able to work with everybody. Is that a good or a bad thing?
It depends on what work with everybody means. There was a time when that was possible. If you go back to the Reagan administration, for example, Reagan and Tip O'Neill could, they could battle it out legislatively, et cetera. And Reagan's vision was for a major capital gains tax cut, which the Congress passed. Tip opposed it, but they could go out and have a beer afterwards and remain friends.
Yeah.
But the problem is now that the Democrat Party, the National Democrat, and the state party too, has become so radicalized that how are you going to work with AOC? How are you going to work with Rashida Tlaib? How are you going to work with Schumer with some of his junk? They've moved so far to the left that in order to work with where the center of the Democrat Party is now, you've got to sacrifice the country. And it is a great and noble ideal. And Tillis was most effective as chair of when he was a Speaker in North Carolina House. And in the first years of the Senate, and then something flipped. In many ways, it's a noble idea, but in this day and age, it's become more difficult because the left isn't even close to anything that's centric or America first. You see, it used to be that the Democrat Party, especially the post-World War II Democrat Party, I believe cared about the country and wanted to put the country first. In the debate between Democrats and Republicans, are we going to set income tax rates at 15% or 70%? But they still want what's best for the country. Now you have globalists within the Democrat Party that don't want what's best for the country. And so it's a difficult thing to do, unfortunately. I wish I could give you a better answer, Rayford, but I'm just calling it the way I see it.
One of the things that, and Lee watches it religiously, I cannot because my religion would get lost watching some of these committee meetings and committee hearings, not meetings, but watching things like you were describing from yesterday. I've seen them and I am embarrassed from both sides. Because people are making comments and statements and not asking questions and expecting a real answer. They're just using it as their moment of infamy.
Political grandstanding, making speeches. Is there a question in there? Usually not a question. Listen, the United States Congress has abandoned its constitutional responsibility to this nation. And you mentioned there are 6 of us running. I've been in this race for a year, much longer than anybody else. We've crisscrossed the state over and over and over again. We made multiple trips into Onslow County, and I want the citizens of Onslow County and later Craven County, where we'll be this afternoon, to understand that I'm here on the first day of early voting to make a statement for a reason. We got our air station at Cherry Point. We got the big Marine. It's kind of funny. My son is a paratrooper in the Army, so it took me forever when I'm going on.
What's wrong with him?
It's kind of funny. He was doing okay one day. I'm from an Army family. I'm the only oddball in the family, Navy guy. He came home one day after his middle of a second year in UC Charlotte and said, "Dude, "Oh, Dad, I'm gonna leave school and start jumping on the airplane." Say, "You crazy?" I said, "Look, it's only 50 feet from the deck of the ship down to the water."
That's right.
But I forgot where I was going with that. I was going with the fact that the Congress has abandoned its responsibility. So you see these grandstanding speeches that are in these hearings, and the Congress and both parties have done this. And so I am running to the right of every other Republican candidate. We had, look, really, it's me and Tillis. We're the two front running candidates here. Everybody.
Tillis, you mean Watley?
Oh, Watley, yeah, Tillis Watley. I'm sorry, yeah, Tillis daughter Watley. They're buddies, but it's me and Watley. we are the front running candidates. Everybody else jumped in, at the end, Thursday or Friday before Christmas. Why, I don't know, but all that aside, I'm running to the right of everybody, and I'm a Republican because of Republican ideals, freedom, limited government, checks and balances. Our Constitution is about checks and balances. We are a republic, not a democracy. But I'm the only candidate who will call out the Republican Party for its ineffectiveness. The Democrat Party has been an absolute disaster. It's interesting, Rayford, I was headed up to Asheville a month or so ago to speak in Buncombe County. And I got a stopwatch, and I got me a smart daughter. I got some smart kids. One of my daughters is an RN. She taught me that I could mash a little button on my cell phone and set off a stopwatch. Mm-hmm. Set it for 1 minute. And there's
stop it.
An app is it? Get calls down by these young whippersnappers, You too, huh?
Oh yeah.
You feel my pain?
He refuses.
Yeah, right. So, but there is a website, and I want everybody to listen to my voice. If you haven't seen it, it's called usdebtclock.org. Okay, usdebtclock.org.
All right.
usdebtclock.org. And if you go to that site, you will witness the national debt of the United States exploding in front of your eyes. Mm-hmm. So I set my clock for 1 minute. After 1 minute, $2 million.
Wow.
That's $120 million an hour, over $2 billion a day, calculated about 37,000 a second.
How much was wasted in that hearing yesterday? How much of our money was wasted in that hearing yesterday? $2 million? There's $2 million right there.
Here's the point. Here's the point. That's under Republican leadership. And I'm not putting the blame at the feet of the president. I'm putting the blame at the feet of Congress, because the Constitution requires Congress to have responsibility over spending. And here's the thing about it. They say we've done better since Trump has come into office, and we have in many, many, many ways.
Some less worse.
It's like this. So I just said to you, Rayford, $37,000 a second about a month ago. It could vary a little bit in the last month. Under a Republican Congress is where the debt exposed. That's down from about $55,000 a second under Biden. So that's kind of like saying, hey, I got a coke problem, but I'm doing a whole lot better. I used to do 2 snorts a night. Now I'm doing 1. And the problem, Rayford, is this. There's no other Senate candidate, not only just in this state, but in the nation, that is sounding this warning. The national debt is a ticking time bomb, and it will take us down so fast it will make your head spin. If you think the crap they tried during the COVID scam was bad, they pushed us as far as they could. And I've been involved in federal litigation against the vax, and you name it. But if you think that was bad, that was a test run. One of these days, you see, we have a 5-nation conglomerate, BRICS, and they're trying to take out the U.S. dollar as the international currency of trade.
Yep.
The fact that the dollar is the international currency of trade is the fuel that makes us an economic superpower. That's what gives us the ability to send B-2 bombers and Buster Bucking bombs to bomb the hell out of Iran's nuclear site. That's why our Navy and our Delta forces can go working together, pluck Maduro out of Venezuela. You think Britain or France or Italy or Germany or anybody could have done that? We are a military superpower because we're an economic superpower. When we lose the dollar, that'll drop so fast it'll make your head spin. Britain, they used to say, every great nation, y'all, that ever controlled the face of the earth throughout history always had the dominant currency that everybody in the world wanted. The Romans had the denarius, the Dutch had the guilding, the Spanish had the peso during Columbus. They used to say the sun will never set on British soil. The British had the pound sterling, which fell to the dollar at Bretton Woods. When the pound sterling fell, Britain fell like a rock. And the same thing happened to us. I remember when I was in the Navy, the last days of the Soviet Union. You remember when Gorbachev was the general secretary, had the splotch on his head and everything. We were trying to have this thing called perestroika with them, and he was cozying up to us. We had a joint naval exercise in San Diego with the Soviet Navy. I'll never forget it. They sent their flagship of the Pacific Fleet in there to 32nd Street Naval Station.
And we didn't keep it.
Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you about that ship. That ship was so antiquated. It was the Admiral something or another. I don't remember.
Oh.
It was so antiquated. It had railroad tracks going around it where the sailors would push the missiles around.
Really?
And they brought it up on the pier on the other side of the USS Valley Forge, which is a Ticonderoga class cruiser. And the skipper of the Valley Forge was showing off. He mashed a button and we have missiles up on the racks.
Of
Boom,
course.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
But the thing that struck me the most, these Soviet sailors were wearing their summer white uniforms like we have in the Navy. They're supposed to be crisp white. They were yellow, like they had been stained by Clorox. Now, these communist sailors knew no English, but they learned two words fast. Two words, $5 and $5. They would say $5, and we give them a $5 bill. They would sell us their medals. You see, the world understands the power of the dollar, and if we lose it, we're moving toward a central bank digital currency. And our Republican Party at the national level has no plan to attack the national debt. And as your next U.S. senator, I can promise you one thing. Number one, I'm going to be the most hated freshman senator on the floor of the Congress. I promise you that, because I'm going to attack it.
Can we back up a little bit and you tell our listeners, give us a little bit of insight into your background, personal and political?
Well, my granddaddy Brown said, boy, don't ever talk about your own self. Don't ever blow your own horn. Let somebody else blow it. I ain't got nothing to blow, but I grew up here in the eastern part of the state,
right.
And I grew up in Plymouth. And my granddaddy Brown was a backer farmer and a rural mail carrier. So I'm probably the only Senate candidate that knows about priming backer and poking backer in the backer barn. I got so sick one day from tobacco poison, and they had to take me to the hospital. You know, that stuff starts dripping on you.
goodness.
Yeah.
I did that.
Yep. So y'all
My
know.
granddaddy Brown.
Right, there you go. So I know this region, the state. I appreciate agriculture. My granddaddy was a small farmer. We got to save our small farmers. Some people would say this is a liability, but political liability. Others would say it's all right. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Yay.
You know,
Our hills.
so I went there
hills.
and then went to and when I got the UNC. By my senior year, I decided I wanted to become a naval officer. I wish I had made the decision earlier. The Lord works it out in retrospect, but it was too late to get into ROTC, and so I took the AOCS, that's the Aviation Officer Candidate School test, and passed it. But you may remember that in the early days of the Reagan administration, we were in a severe recession because of what Carter had left over, and so I didn't get picked up to go to Pensacola because at the time we were only taking engineers, and I was a political science grade, one of the engineers. I don't blame him. And so there you go. And so
Poli-sci didn't do a whole lot of good for you, did it?
No, not a licking bit. I learned a lot. The lessons that I learned in Chapel Hill were non-academic, depending on how you describe academic. But then decided, I'll go to law school, and went to Campbell in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And what a great school. And so I decided, if I can't get into the Navy as an aviator, I'll see if I can become a JAG officer. So I got into law school and applied for the JAG program, got picked up. And there was one crossroads event I'll never forget. I was at the end of my first year, and the recruiter came down from Raleigh. He said, look, I see that you took the AOCS. If you drop out of law school, we can have you in Pensacola in like 5 weeks. And it was very tempting, except the only issue was that I don't have 20/20 corrected vision. There was no such thing as LASIK, so they're going to put me in the back seat. A crossroads decision. Mm-hmm. So I stayed in the JAG Corps, and it's what the Lord wanted. And I would say that I served 5 active, 11 reserve, 16 total. I was on inactive reserves when I finally left the Navy. But most of my work with the military, ironically, has come based on my experience as a JAG officer and afterwards. We lost a helicopter in Afghanistan, a Chinook CH-47 Extortion 17 shot down in 2011, 90-some days after the bin Laden mission, after SEALs came in and killed bin Laden on May 1st of that year. That Chinook had 17 members of U.S. Navy DevGru, better known as SEAL Team 6, 30 Americans, the largest loss of life in the Afghan war. And I've been watching on Facebook, actually, a press conference from the National Press Club, some of these Gold Star families, supported by some of the most distinguished members of the Congress at the time. Alan West, Louis Gohmert was there. Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, who has since endorsed our campaign, was there supporting them. Admiral Ace Lyons, commander of Pacific Fleet. I watched this And I knew that something had gone wrong with the shooting down of this helicopter. The family's one of the answers. They're SEAL Team 6 family members that have lost their sons. And out of a lark, I sent a Facebook message to Karen Vaughn, who lost her son, Special Ops Chief Aaron Vaughn on Extortion 17. I said, listen, Karen, and I'm an author. I've written 16 books. Most are about the military, one way or the other.
Okay.
And so listen, Karen, I saw your press conference. I had handled a major aviation disaster in San Diego of an F-14 that went down when I was a JAG officer. I handled we had a crash taken off at Miramar, and I'd handled that all the way through settling in federal court, paying off the family members. So listen, I've got some experience with major aviation disaster. And if I can, and I'm also an author, if I can help you, let me know. And she said, we've been praying about somebody maybe to write a book. 2 weeks later, I met Karen and Billy down in Atlanta, and we at a Denny's, and we sat there for 2 hours, had an omelet that day. And at the end of that meeting, Billy Vaughn slipped across the table a disc. And when Extortion 17 was shot down, the military tried to wrap it fast. Mattis was the CENTCOM commander at the time. 5 weeks after the shoot down, they pushed an investigation through, calling it unavoidable, calling it active war. I mean, unavoidable in the fog of war. But one thing that happened that was strange about the extortion case is after the shoot down, the Navy brought family members into Little Creek, Virginia to brief them on the shoot down. And there was a brigadier named Jeffrey Colt, who was the appointed investigation officer. And he was saying fog of war couldn't have happened. And while he was doing that, here's the thing about it. This is why I love our senior enlisted. We had senior chiefs and master chiefs in that auditorium going through the family members and passing out these little envelopes. In the envelopes, there was a disc. And on the disc, someone, and this is incredible, had declassified 1,250 pages of the investigation, that shoot down, and given it to some of the family members. Of course, I can read militaryese. I've been a JAG officer, and it was clear that something had gone wrong. And Billy Vaughn slipped that to me at the end of that meeting in Atlanta. He didn't know if he could trust me or not. You don't know if you can trust an officer. You don't trust you can. Many JAG officers
Right.
you can't trust. Right. Many you can. Many you can't. I met Pete Hegseth through all this, but I read the disc. I went and read the entire report. And it was clear that one or two things had happened to those guys on Extortion 17. Either they were deliberately sacrificed by the Obama Pentagon, or their deaths were the result of absolute criminal negligence, and neither is acceptable. So went through on that and wrote the book. This is my 7th, but the first military nonfiction, Call Sign Extortion 17, the shoot down of SEAL Team 6. Later, that was turned into a movie. And from that, I met Pete Hegseth, and we worked together for 2 years on the pardon of Lieutenant Clinton Lawrence and Army paratroopers. I've been very involved in military rules of engagement issues. One thing kind of leads to another. And, because if I became a JAG officer and happened to handle that F-14 shoot down, we lost one of the two pilots, and then met the Vaughns there in Florida, and then met Hegseth. And, we've now been endorsed by Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, the former National Security Advisor, General Jerry Boykin, who is from New Bern, by the way, a former Delta Force commander, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. We've had some significant military involvement. I don't know if that's a long answer to a short question. It
Well,
probably
I was
is.
just reading too that you published, talking about your Arthur, your publishing career, and it says that you had a national bestseller, "The Last Fighter Pilot: The True Story of the Final Combat Mission of World War II." And I've put all these links on our pages today. Very interesting.
Well, we've had 3 national bestsellers. We've had 16 books published. 15 of the 16 are about the military. The first few books were published by Zondervan, and it was a JAG series.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the extortion case came along with the shoot down of this helicopter, I switched to nonfiction. And Lattice Fighter Pilot, as you're mentioning, was a story about Captain Jerry Yellen, who was a P-51 pilot, and at age 21 flew.
I know him.
You know Jerry Yellen? Y'all know Jerry?
We do.
We
He's
have
a
a
regular
very
listener.
good friend that is a retired FBI special agent, and he's an author too. And he's written a lot of this military stuff. This is all facts.
I hope I could get your number when
Yes.
before you leave. So I would like to put you in touch with him.
Absolutely.
There's-
John
there-
Legato, have you heard
Yes,
of him?
I have.
There's
Love to
some-
talk. Love to
He's a
talk.
really good friend of mine.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting on Last Fighter Pilot. Again, I was watching a YouTube video, and this old guy, I saw him. He was in his, flight uniform, Army Air Force flight uniform, and Mount Suribachi was in the background. They had gone back to Iwo Jima for a reunion, and he had tried to write a book. And this fellow flew the very last known combat mission of the war, aerial mission, on the day that the Japanese surrendered. You see, Truman had dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and then Nagasaki and gave the Japanese several days to try to surrender. And there was an internal battle in Japan with the junior officers wanting to fight on, the senior guys wanted to surrender. So Truman ordered the air war to be reinitiated on the 15th. And so these guys take off from Iwo Jima on a strafing mission. And Yellen and his wingman take off. His wingman is a guy named Lieutenant Phil Schlomberg, who at that time was 19 years old. Yellen was 20. Can you imagine this? The P-51 was the most advanced fighter plane we had. A 21-year-old guy and a 19-year-old were flying this. So they
warrant officers?
right? Yeah. Well, no, they weren't warrants. They were lieutenants. One was a senior lieutenant. The other was a we call them ensigns in the Navy, but second lieutenant. But they go in for a strafing mission to hit. They called it targets of opportunity. The 51s. We took Iwo Jima because our bombers, our B-29s, needed fighter escort initially, and Iwo Jima was halfway between the Mariana Islands and Japan.
It's crucial.
That's right. So we took it initially so that we would have fighter escort for the B-29s. But the Japanese air defenses were weakened so much by the summer of 45 that the 29s did not even need fighter escorts. They were above Japanese air defenses. So the 51s attacked offensively, targets of opportunity. And on that final mission, they go down to Straits Airfield, come up through the clouds. Schlomberg is gone.
Right.
And Schlomberg is the great uncle of Scarlett Johansson. And Scarlett Johansson's mother actually wrote, she did a foreword about her uncle. Her name is Melanie Sloan in the book Last Fighter Pilot. Last Fighter Pilot blew up. And Jerry and I were sent to, when the book was released, we were privileged to speak at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley. And if you've not been there, it is the Cadillac of libraries. I guess some of us still use the phrase Cadillac, meaning the elevated of presidential libraries. Spoke at the Nixon Library, and I was there when we buried Jerry at Arlington in 21. It took 13 months. He passed away. We went on a book tour starting in August. Jerry passed away December 21st. The same. I was very, very honored and blessed to be with that guy. I've been very fortunate. I was from some of my work. Jerry Young flew the last known combat mission. I was on a military. We were trying to put a military museum in Charlotte right before COVID. I was on the board. We brought in the guy named Captain Dutch Van Kirk, who was the last survivor from the crew of the Enola Gay, which was the B-29 that dropped the bomb. Mm-hmm. And so I've been very, very fortunate working with some of these guys, some of my post-active duty military involvement. So,
well, I see you're currently licensed as a lawyer and you have your own agency, your own business.
That's true.
Yes.
So
And
if I do something, I can call you.
You call me anytime. If you don't do something, Rayfrey, we're cousins now. You know.
I mean, I'll call you for sure. Some professional help.
You're
You can call me
licensed
anytime.
in North Carolina and South Carolina, and you
And get
do
called.
a lot of civil litigation and military type cases and stuff.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
What made you want to? I know back in 2024 you ran for Congress.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And of course, Mark Harris was the favorite child of Trump at the time, because Trump more or less made the announcement that that's who he was supporting. So what makes you want to do this now, run for U.S. Senate? I mean, it sounds like you've got a great life.
Right.
And why do you want to run for Senate?
Well, somebody asked me that question. I said, what makes you think I want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So my first response is, what makes you think I want to do this? But I've got to look Rayford in the eye. I got to look you in the eye. Because very few people understand that this nation is on the precipice. All right. You know, we have the Democrat Congress has abandoned its responsibility and Republican Congress has been weak. We have a deep state. And one thing that Doge showed us is that the deep state of the federal government is a criminal enterprise. And that debt of $37,000 a second. See, when we lose the U.S. dollar, it's going to be tyranny. It was Werner Rothschild that said, "Give me control of a nation's currency. I don't care what laws you pass. We're running out of time." And like Reagan said, if not us, then who? And not now, then when? I got kids and grandkids that got to look in the eye. And the other candidates running have said not one word about the national debt, not one word about the dangers of what we're facing, not just in North Carolina, but across the nation.
Right.
I've been beating the same drum now for a year. And
Right.
I will go. We have got to go to war against this deep state and take it out. I'm not just talking about cutting spending. I'm talking about cutting agencies.
Right. Yeah, I saw on your platform where you were talked about cutting a lot of non-military type agencies and tightening up the budget. So let's talk about your platform. Here's one that you'll like, Rayford. You talk about the Internal Revenue Service and Federal Income Tax
Infernal
Elimination
Revenue
Act.
Service.
Infernal.
Right.
So the IRS has become weaponized and has terrorized Christians and conservatives. Enough is enough. Eliminate the IRS and eliminate the federal income tax.
Yep.
That's part of your platform.
Absolutely. If you stop and think about it, just think about this for a second. If you saw Trump's interview with Elon, with Joe Rogan, excuse me, did you see that, Lee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if anybody listening to us hasn't seen it, I say go back and watch it. It's
Right.
3 hours, but break it up and break it up. There's one section in there when they're talking about tariffs.
Right.
And Trump mentions that during the McKinley administration, they were making so much money off tariffs alone. They had to find agencies to figure out how to distribute the money. But what is not said is that in the period between 1880 and 1913, when this nation made what I believe is the most grievous constitutional mistake in history by passing the 16th Amendment. In that period from 1880 to 1913, the United States underwent the greatest industrial revolution in history. Our industries boomed and exploded: railroads, telegraph, electricity, you name it, automobiles. And we did so at a period when Teddy Roosevelt later sent the Great White Fleet around the world, the greatest boom in history, during a period of almost 40 years in which there was zero income tax, no income tax at all. Okay. And that is the model. And one thing, and Elon Musk said this, and he's correct. And this tax system is so corrupt that it has led to the creation of these NGOs, which are anti-American. If you look, for example, at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they get into depopulation.
Right.
They get into pushing vaxes. They got it. It was the Gates Foundation that was pushing Common Core, which is an example of what the Department of Education tried to ram down our throats. And so this is all built around a crooked tax system. You see, it is the myriad of deductions that allow these huge NGOs to operate and to take our freedom away. So yeah, cut the IRS. Got to go.
Yeah, I'm all for cutting taxes, but how would we pay for like our military if we cut out taxes? What's your plan to replenish that money?
Well, let me back up. Remember, I said a moment ago that Teddy Roosevelt sent the Great White Fleet around the world with zero income tax. So the model is already there. But you do a combination of tariffs, and then you do something that Governor Huckabee was talking about that I think makes sense if you need it, and that will be what we call a fair tax,
Right.
where there's going to be a slight tax. It's got to be capped on initial purchases, not on repurchases. So if we go to the gun show, Rayford, and we decide we want to buy, a used 9mm Smith & Wesson, we don't get taxed.
cousins.
We get taxed on that.
Cousins.
But you see,
I don't have a gun.
Lee, if you cut the government, we'll have enough revenue to take care of it.
Gotcha.
And the fair tax doesn't punish Rayford on what he makes over there.
Right.
I don't like Rayford because of his money. I like him because we're kin folks.
Yeah,
But I would
they're
like
cousins.
him whether he had a pot to pee in or not. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of
I know what a pecan is.
But you shouldn't have to, Rayford. You shouldn't be punished by your success. That is unconstitutional, if you ask me. And eliminating the income tax will help with that.
Okay. Before Theo calls, because we have a listener, I know he'll be calling about term limits. Let's talk about term limits. What's your stand on that?
Well, here's the thing about it. I just want you to think about this for a second. First of all, we have a thing called a 22nd Amendment. And that means that on January 20th, 2029, there's going to be a new president. Whether it's J.D. Vance or somebody else, the president is limited by their term limits imposed upon the president. Number one, the first question I have, why does it make sense to put term limits on the president and not on members of the Congress? And I want you to think about Yep. And I want you to think about this. Joe Biden went into the Senate the same year that the great Jesse Helms went into the Senate.
Jesse Helms.
And I'm a conservative because of Jesse Helms. That's a whole other story. But that was
to Carolina anyway.
What's that? Well, Jesse said they ought to build a fence around Chapel
There you
Hill.
go.
But I came out of Chapel Hill more conservative than I went in, proving there is a God and God works in mysterious ways. Mm-hmm. But Helms was elected in 72, along with Joe Biden. They went in 73. What if you had a two-term limit on the U.S. Senate, which I think is perfectly reasonable? Joe Biden would have gone out of the U.S. Senate in 1985. 1985. And you never would have heard from him again. Instead, he stayed and accumulated. And absolute power corrupts, and power corrupts absolutely. But there's a rest of the story that I need folks to think about on term limits. Right. Term limits do no good if you do not cut the bureaucracy, okay? And I mean taking a meat cleaver and taking agencies out. Because when the Democrats created this bureaucracy, first under FDR with a New Deal, and then under LBJ with a Great Society, they created these 3-letter agencies and sometimes 4-letter agencies. The ATF, the EPA, that's a Nixon's problem, the EPA was, but the IRS, whatever it is, and look what they do. They create these regulations that we have to, our hands are bound by the regulations. These are unelected bureaucrats. So if let's say I cut members of the Congress to Senate to the 12 years, which should happen, and I don't take out these bureaucrats, they become disproportionately even more powerful. So you got to have term limits with a meat cleaver to the government. You can't have one without the other. And I favor all of that.
Okay, here's another one that I saw on your platform that I know Rayford is going to like. National constitutional carry.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you want to be intellectually honest about it, we already have it. It's called the Second Amendment. Right. The right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, period. And there's no exception to that. But we've been pushing, our General Assembly should have taken care of business when we were veto proof. I don't know why that didn't happen. You'll have to ask Senator Berger. But it should have taken care of business. And understand there's a difference. The General Assembly has passed constitutional carry in North Carolina. Stein vetoed it. We don't have the votes to override it. The cynical part of me wonders if that's not by design, but that's another topic. But national constitutional carry would allow you to take your weapon up north of 95. Right. And what it used to be, once you got past the Mason-Dixon line, you could be arrested. Now you've got a communist governor of Virginia, and it might just be past, the Halifax County line going up 95. You can get arrested. But I've had friends who have been arrested simply for having weapons changed at LaGuardia Airport and charged with felonies. So national constitutional carry would guarantee what the Second Amendment really guarantees anyway, that you can carry your weapon peacefully anywhere in the United States when you cross state lines and not have to worry about being arrested. So that's what that's about. And we have been working gun shows all across the state all year long, getting petitions for that. And I support that fully. Now, is Congress ready for that? Maybe not, but I'm going to advocate that from the floor of the United States Senate.
Okay.
In the very least, the absolute very leastest that should be done is that anybody who is licensed to carry in North Carolina or any other state, for any state that has a concealed carry permit, right. And almost every one of them do, they should be able to require them to acknowledge that North Carolina's gun toters, right. Legalized gun toters, they've already been screened. They've already done the thing. Right. That if there should be a reciprocal agreement, period, just like there is with the driver's license. Mm-hmm. What is right. The difference?
You're right, Rayford. And what you're talking about is national concealed carry versus what I was talking about, national constitutional carry.
I understand that, but there needs to be one step at a time, if nothing else.
And I support national concealed carry. I will push any step getting us closer to the ideal of the Second Amendment. And by the way, I've got a concealed carry, and
I wasn't going to ask you until the next question came up. But I was going to ask you.
But there are reciprocal agreements amongst a number of the southern states. Yeah. Where that is recognized. Yeah. But the Yankee states up there north of the Mason, in fact, Virginia, they're basically communistic. And if you ask me, Rayford, the full faith and credit clause that Article 4 of the Constitution should require these northern states to recognize
Absolutely.
our concealed permits in North Carolina anyway, and the full faith and credit
Imagine
clause.
if North Carolina decides not to recognize the driver's licenses of the great state of New York.
There you go, being
Right.
logical about things, right? You're being you're being logical. There's no logic. There
That's
is
right.
this anti-gun fervency. You know, it's interesting. A few years ago, Lee was asking about my law practice. At one time, my entire office staff was Jewish. Just about. My secretary was one of these Jewish mother hen types, and she brought in this young lady who was a brilliant young lady who was the number one in her class at a big high school in Charlotte. And we got in this conversation about guns. I hate guns. I hate guns. Well, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about the Swiss model and how Switzerland, one of the most populated nations
Yep.
in the world, one of the most heavily gun infiltrated, gun disseminated, most armed, I should say, nations in the world, had one of the lowest crime rates. And she was looking at the article. I was getting all wide. And, people say, Rafer, they say that Hitler didn't invade Switzerland because they had his money. That's a bunch of malarkey.
They had guns.
Listen,
Every civilian
Rafer,
had a gun.
I want everybody, listen to me, go Google if you don't believe me. Hitler hated Switzerland. He wanted Switzerland wiped. He called Switzerland the pimple on the face of Europe. He ordered his generals to develop a battle plan to invade it, and they did. It's called Operation Tannenbaum, like the Christmas tree. And Hitler's generals talked him out of executing that because it would have been a bloodbath.
Mm-hmm.
And our model for the Second Amendment really is based on the Swiss model, going all the way back to 500 AD with William Tell or whatever. People don't understand that. When Lloyd Benson looked at Dan Quayle when they were debating and said, "You don't need that to go do a hunting." It's not about hunting, Senator. It's about preservation of freedom. And we're not being taught this in any schools, public,
Not
private, or
at all.
anything. And it's time to revamp what we're doing in terms of what we're teaching our kids, teaching our people.
Which brings up the fact you talk about eliminating the Department of Education.
Yeah. You mean Department of Indoctrination.
Indoctrination.
Well, Lee, what you don't know about me is I can speak a little bit of Russian with a redneck accent.
Oh.
Здравствуйте, coffee позывайте. Если ты хочешь, я могу дать вам что-нибудь поесть. That's Russian with a redneck accent. Tell me what Department of Education bureaucrat taught me how to speak Russian. You see, the Department of Education has been a colossal disaster.
Mm-hmm.
First off, our Constitution provides for limited government. Article 1, Section 8.
Right.
We got Morse code coming in, do we?
Yeah.
It's that Russian you spoke.
It could be.
They're
It's
replying
like
to
the
you.
top radio.
You
on
don't,
the-
you don't really know that was right. That might have been
It's
just.
the right hand
Diving.
control. Right hand control.
They knew what you
I
said.
thought I heard SOS.
It
Yeah.
wasn't SOS. It's a station ID.
There you go. Okay.
Wait
You turned it wrong. Turn it.
This is great, man. You
Isn't-
see they're listed everywhere.
These are amateur radios, and I can talk to people all over the world, and do.
My dad was a ham operator.
Was he?
He sure was. So I'm used to that. It makes me feel like I'm at home. So Department of Education. Department of Education was rammed down our throats by Jimmy Carter and Democrat Congress in 1980.
He's the one that started it, right?
Yeah. And just before Reagan came in.
Mm-hmm.
Since the Department of Indoctrination, Department of Education came in, our scores, especially against our Pacific Rim competitors, meaning Malaysia, Taiwan, South
Right.
Korea, Japan, have dropped. And the Department of Education has been used over and over again as an excuse to ram top-down curriculum down our students' throats, which is a disaster. I lectured several years ago against Common Core. This is poison. But it was the Department of Education pushing that garbage
Right.
in conjunction with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They brought in a working group to DC with teachers, high school, elementary, middle school, with a math part and the language arts part. But they brought in the university professor to head each part. The math part was headed by a Stanford mathematician named Bill Milgram, who also worked with NASA during the Apollo moonshots. Language arts was headed by Sandy Stosky, an English professor at the University of Arkansas. Both resigned when they saw what Common Core really was. In math, they were going to push down the upper level of mathematics in 12th grade to pre-calculus, not calculus. So you wouldn't get calculus, you got to college. So you're dumbing us down even more. And on the English side, they were replacing great literature of Western civilization, like Dickens and Shakespeare and Faulkner and others, with garbage, both prurient, that is sexually explicit, and communist. And so that is an example of the damage the Department of Education has caused. We put a man on the moon July 20th, 1969, with zero Department of Education. We won 2 wars without a Department of Education. The United States Constitution does not set that forth as an obligation of the government and keep the money in North Carolina. See what we're doing now, we're sending the money up there. They hold it so they can blackmail us with our own money. Then they give it back to us. Keep it in North Carolina.
Get part of it back. They have handling fees.
Right.
Exactly. Keep it here to begin with. It's been a disaster.
All right. Judicial Separation of Powers Act.
Right. Well, one of the things that when the Constitution was passed in 1787, it had to be ratified. And so you had 2 groups battling over the Constitution. You had the Federalists from the Federalist Papers, and you had the Anti-Federalists. And these Anti-Federalists did not want the Constitution, but they were some of the greatest patriots. For example, Patrick Henry was the principal Anti-Federalist. And Sam Adams, I joke around. I remember that because I like the beer. I really don't like the beer, but Sam Adams was a great patriot who was anti-federalist, and even Thomas Jefferson was concerned about the lack of a Bill of Rights. One of the biggest fears the anti-federalists had was judges wearing black robes, acting as judicial tyrants. So to quell that fear, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay wrote the Federalist Papers. Alexander Hamilton took that question on in Federalist 78. So he writes Federalist 78 and he hands it to the states. And he says, don't worry about these judges. Well, the first thing he says, now listen to this. Alexander Hamilton says the judiciary will be by far the weakest branch of government. Now think about that. That shatters this constitutional fiction of co-equal branches of government. We don't have co-equal branches of government. Okay. And then he said, the second thing is that a federal judge will never have the power to issue an injunction or to order the president what to do or order the Congress what to do. That's Federalist 78. And when you go to Article 3 of the Constitution, see, here's what I want folks to understand. That every federal court in the United States, except the U.S. Supreme Court, was created by the Congress. Article 3, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is a branch of government. But here's the rest of the language. And such inferior courts, you hear that word, inferior courts? Now listen to this. As Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. These are inferior courts. So Hamilton says the Supreme Court is the weakest branch of government. We don't have co-equal branches anymore. We have separation of church and state, constitutional fiction. Then you have the Court of Appeals, and these district court judges are even more inferior, ordering the president of the United States to turn a plane around full of criminal outlaws who've come in this country illegally. Boasberg has no authority to order Trump to do that. When Trump came in 2017, remember, he had a travel ban from certain Sharia countries. By the way, I'm the only U.S. Senate candidate in the country calling for the end of Sharia immigration into the United States. They'll call me an Islam. I don't care what kind of phobe they call me. Watley won't say that. I don't even know the names of the other ones that jumped in on the last day. Doesn't matter. None of them will say that. But they ordered Trump put in a temporary travel ban from 7 Sharia countries. The Democrats sued. There was a district court judge in Washington named Robards and in Hawaii named Watson. Said it was unconstitutional. The liberal Ninth Circuit said unconstitutional. 1 year and 4 months later, Supreme Court reversed the liberals and reinstated the travel ban. These judges don't have the authority. So the Judicial Separation of Powers Act that you've asked about would, one, remind these out-of-control Democrat judges that all want to be president of their limitations under Federalist 78, and 2, it would strip them of all authority, which they don't really have anyway, over the United States military and over immigration and naturalization, because the Constitution envisions that those 2 areas, the military and immigration, are to be worked out between the president and the Congress and not the courts. So that's what it would do. But most people don't understand. You know, people ask me all the time, would you favor impeaching a judge who violates the Constitution? Well, yes, but there's an easier solution. You defund them. Because if I impeach him, I got to get 2/3 of the Senate to take him out of office. But as Congress, the Congress got a growth set. Most members of Congress don't even understand what I just explained to you.
Right.
We cut their money, and you put them in their place like that. When I was defending J6ers, I heard you guys talk about this. I'm one of the very few attorneys in the United States ever to get a presidential pardon. I've gotten 2 presidential pardons from Donald Trump. One for Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, 82nd Airborne paratrooper. 2 from Elliot Bechet, who, as far as we know, is the youngest J6er who was arrested. And when I was involved in defending those cases, I could tell you a lot of stories, but I can also tell you that many of the young U.S. attorneys in the District of Columbia were frustrated by having to handle all these J6 cases, which were a malarkey and bunch of bull. You tell me one Trump supporter that hit an officer. You can barely find one. Most of them were peaceful, but the U.S. attorneys in their 30s, they were frustrated because the Biden administration was driving these political prosecutions, and the J6 was a big assault on the Constitution. And what I'm talking about, the J6 prosecutions were an assault on the Constitution. But the U.S. attorneys were frustrated because they couldn't get the real criminal work. And so as far as I'm concerned, you defund, if that's the way the U.S. Attorney's Office and the D.C. courts want to operate, you defund them if you got to do that. And so I will be advocating that from the floor of the Senate, and I will be the biggest thorn in the side of these out-of-control communist judges. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I think the last question I have is, why should I vote for you?
Because our nation's in trouble, and I'm the only candidate. I saw somebody endorse me the other day. I'm endorsing Don Brown because he's the only candidate that's even put any policies on his website. And you've asked me about some of my policies.
Right.
I've got one principal opponent, Mike Watley. What you hear Watley say is Trump, 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 Trump. And I love President Trump. But Trump, Trump, Trump is not a policy, okay? If we go back, first of all, Watley can't defeat Cooper. He cannot defeat Cooper. It will not happen. I've been all over the state. There's too much division already in the Republican Party. 2, in order to take Cooper down, you've got to have a prosecutor. I'm the only former criminal prosecutor of the Republicans running. And I'm going to hit Roy Cooper so hard, he won't know which end is up. I'm going to prosecute him on his record. The last time I saw my daddy alive, this is personal to me. The last time I saw my daddy alive, I was looking through the glass. My sister and I were at a nursing home standing on a frozen patch of land in Plymouth, North Carolina, looking through glass, waving at our daddy because of Cooper's unconstitutional mandates that kept North Carolinians away from their dying family members. Yep. I'm going to hit him so hard, he won't know which end. I'm going to hit him on his COVID record. I'm going to hit him for the damage he did to our public schools by shutting it down. I'm going to hit him for the fact that more than 50% of North Carolina restaurants went out of business because of his foolishness. I'm going to hit him for having the audacity to say that your job is essential. Well, by golly, if you're learning a living for your family, your job's essential. I'm going to hit him for saying that while liquor is essential, churches are not. And thank goodness that was overturned in the courts, and Cooper backed down on that. I'm going to hit him for commuting 15 vicious murderers on the day he left office. I've got a battle plan for hitting Cooper. And when I get to the Senate, I will not go along with status quo republicanism. Understand that status quo republicanism only slows down the rate of our demise. Okay. If Watley got in, he cannot get in. You're going to have more of the same, more of an explosion of the debt. When we go off the plank, it's going to be too late. And our Republican Party needs a vision for attacking this national debt. I'm the only one that's proposed any type of plan to attack it.
Have you talked to Bud?
No, not too much. Okay. I need Ted to get on board.
Ted.
Okay, you guys polarized or?
Well, Ted seems to be in the Watley camp.
Okay.
But Ted, I need Ted to step
politically
up.
Speaking, but philosophically speaking,
I need all of our Republicans in the Senate to step up their game. Since you've been kind enough to have me here, we may have been on the air, 10, 15 minutes?
No, longer.
Okay. So $120 million a minute. Mm-hmm. And so if I've been on the air for 10 minutes, the national debt has gone up 10 times that. Mm-hmm. Where is the leadership in the Senate? Who's speaking up? And Bud's doing a great, listen, I'm not knocking our Republican members of the Congress because we have stopped. When our Republicans come into Congress, we typically stop crazy Democrat expansionism. They can't go, but if you put Democrats, they will bring our demise faster. But we've got to attack this debt problem, or it's going to be all over. And I need to hear Ted speaking up a bit against that.
Well, see, but I do math. I love math. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things that I do. You need 59 more people like you in the Senate. period, bottom line, to get the work done that needs to be done, right? 59.
Given the Senate filibuster rules, that's correct.
Just so quit fighting, get her done.
Right.
That's the only philosophy that I've got. I got one question for you, and then we'll open the floor. If anybody has a question they'd like to ask him, you said you would take calls.
I'll take as many calls.
Okay.
all
If
day
anybody
long.
has a
I'm here.
question, go ahead and ring us up now, 910-333-0139. My one question, if there is anything that I could find out about you in 6 months after you take office that I do not know today, would it affect me, make me mad that I voted or supported you? What is there that you have that I would find out? And by the way, I'm an investigator, former investigator. What could I ever find out about you that would cause me not to support you today if I find it out in 6 months?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
You
I'm not
should go.
perfect. Let me put that. I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner saved by grace. But
I've already done your background. I don't
Right,
find anything.
He asked every candidate this,
Yeah.
so you should
I
feel
used to ask,
privileged.
in a job I had, I used to ask every future employee that.
Right.
right.
And I got a lot of comments, and they said they came out with the dumbest stuff you've ever seen. Well, I did this. Good God,
Well, I mean, listen.
everybody's done something.
Only one man ever walked on water, and I'm here. But
Two.
there you go.
I was the other.
There you go. Okay, Redford. That's my cousin. It's the Brown thing.
Well, I can show you.
I wish all y'all could see Lee's reaction. Right
Oh
now.
my gosh.
It's worth the price of admission. but I'm a sinner saved by grace. But if they were like a criminal record or whatever, there's nothing there like that.
Okay, let me take apart from, I think, one of our forums here, I believe. You got 60 seconds. There's a room full of, there's an elevator full of you.
You're stuck in that
You're stuck in
elevator.
an elevator. You got 60 seconds to convince people
In that elevator with you, why they should vote
why they
for
should
you.
vote for you.
I'm the only veteran in the top two here. I've been involved with our vets. I'm going to stand for our vets. We need to have a healthcare card for our vets that can go in and get healthcare anywhere. It's an absolute crime that members of the Congress. I believe the lowest ranking private in the Army and the Marine Corps is more important than the highest ranking member of Congress. I'm going to fight for our vets here. And the VA has been a disaster. And I'm talking to our folks here in Onslow County right now.
Right. Good
I want
question,
to
Chris.
see health care for all vets better than what we're giving the members of Congress.
Good question.
My disabled Marine wife would appreciate that.
And God bless her and thank her for her
I
service.
will.
I mean, it's a shame.
Right.
We
It is.
have one of the largest military bases on the East Coast, and our veterans have to go to Wilmington, Fayetteville, all these other places for health care.
And our veterans need a health care card that gives them the right to go
Any
anywhere
doctor.
in the nation at any time without delay. And I'll battle for that. And especially, it's been half a century since we've had an all-volunteer force,
Right.
and which elevates. And I'm not just talking about retirees. I'm talking about if you got a DD-214, which most people in this audience know what that means, and you've served honorably with an honorable discharge, you get that card, and you and your spouse get the card. So if your wife's a military vet, you're not a vet. You may be a vet, but because your wife is. And I've spoken to a number of VFWs and American Legions, and I've spoken up at Fort Bragg, and I always ask folks in the audience who's a military spouse. And I think our military spouses, I think our spouses who have been just as important to the defense of this nation as the men and women who've been on active duty. And I mean that.
It appears to be Charlie, I believe. Cole.
We'll find out right now.
We got one man on the line. Cannot vote for you, Don.
Charlie, come on.
Hey, Charlie.
He's in
So-
California.
Oh, is that right?
I clicked on your show about a minute ago, and I said to myself, I'm just going to watch you guys for the next 10 minutes. Maybe I'll call in. But within 1 minute, the gentleman speaking, he basically is saying that if you're a veteran, if you served in the United States Army, any sort of the branch of service, you walk into any hospital, any hospital in the world or in the U.S., you immediately get service, correct?
Correct.
You're damn right. I said that, and I meant it, and I'm going to fight for it.
You know what? I think that's wonderful. If you serve the country, regardless of your race, whatever, you walk into any hospital in the United States of America, they immediately take care of you. They don't reject you. They take care of you.
And Charlie, why should, I don't know if you heard this, why should our members of Congress have superior health care to veterans of the United States military?
Right.
it is a crime and a travesty. And so I was asked, give me 60 seconds on why somebody should vote for me. We're in Onslow County. Charlie, I got here at 3 o'clock this morning after driving all night long because I want to make a statement to our Marines and our vets. And our vets are an absolute top priority for me. I am one, and I love my fellow vets, and we're going to battle for our vets. Like nobody from this state ever in the United States Senate. That I can guarantee.
All right.
Charlie?
No. First of all, first and foremost, I agree with what you said, but you have to, I'm basically I'm a nice person that calls into the show, kind of a nutcase, but not like a real nutcase.
No,
but I agree with everything you're saying.
No, you're not.
I know.
No,
But the fact that if you serve the United States of America and you're having problems, you should be able to walk into the wealthiest hospital in the United States.
Well,
everybody should just care to you and take care of you.
The mistreatment of vets is our greatest tragedy. We went 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq, and what do we have to show for it? We got a bunch of guys now going around with PTSD who've had traumatic brain injury.
No legs, one arm, no arms.
Exactly. And this fool Biden pulls us out and leaves billions of equipment there in Afghanistan, and we're treating our vets like dirt, and it's got to come to an end. And as you're next United States Senator, looking at the 3 guys in here and the folks listening to me, I'm going to lead that battle in the Florida Senate. And they might tell me to shut up. I could care less. I don't know how much time I've got left, and I'm going to make the best of it if I can.
I don't know the exact value amount. I'm not sure how many tanks, guns, weapons, cannons, whatever. Do you have like a guesstimate of how much was left there and how they're going to utilize that to basically attack us or go after us? I know they left billions of dollars of weaponry there.
They did. I don't have the exact amount. It was billions, and it did not have to happen. That equipment could have been shipped out, but before we pulled our folks out. And by the way, we could very easily have kept 2 major air bases easily within striking distance of China. One at Bagram, the biggest one, and the other at Kandahar. We had total control of those air bases. Bagram could easily have been defended, and we could have kept it there.
Now, Charlie and Don both, I come from a little different background in post-military, but before I would have left that location, every piece of equipment would have been booby-trapped.
Yeah.
You understand what's going to occur then, right?
Absolutely.
Take care of problems.
Absolutely.
So I actually just Googled it, and it said the estimated value of the equipment left behind is approximately $7 billion. Mm-hmm. They left, and you think about this. Nobody in the Democrats, they're doing everything humanly possible to go after Trump, whatever. But you think about all this massive weaponry that was left there. Mm-hmm. They're going to utilize that to try to destroy their neighbors, their allies they hate, go after the United States of America. And it's sickening.
It is. Charlie, thank you, sir. We got some limited time here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie.
Are you,
Don, we have a question. We have a question from one of our listeners. They would like your opinion on ICE.
Let me put it this way. Here's one place I disagree with Senator Tillis. First off, I was in Greensboro speaking to North Carolina Federation of Republican Women on the day that the Border Patrol showed up in Charlotte. We left that speech and drove to Charlotte and appeared at the First Ward Park as things were closing. When we got there, they were starting to pack up a little bit. And I saw these young people walking around in their 20s with shirts saying socialism, just parroting socialism. And I praised our Border Patrol. And when Tillis said that Kristi Noem should be fired, I chastised him for that and called on Whatley to chastise him and said that Kristi Noem should be given a raise. Okay? Well, hello there. ICE. Consider this. That when the Democrats opened the borders under Biden and let in every Tom, Dick, and Harry, brought them in, they wanted us to take a jab. They didn't take a jab. They're bringing in tuberculosis, everything else. We lost more Americans in 1 year to fentanyl than 10 years to Vietnam War.
Yep.
And ICE is part of the solution of the problems the Democrats created. So I am an ICE proponent. I'm a Border Patrol proponent. But one of the things I've called for is a new unified command under the U.S. military called United States Border Command. Whereas we have a 4-star general or admiral who is responsible for help using the military to help enforce the borders. So I'm a pro-ICE guy to answer your question.
There you go, Thomas.
Good.
All right.
Folks don't quite understand. They are law enforcement officers.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Right.
trained.
Yeah.
They have a duty to do. They're specialists in what they do. And I support them wholeheartedly. There, as you have in any organization, you're going to have accidents. You're going to have mistakes.
Right. But Rayford, even with the 2 shootings,
They were not.
Right.
It is what it is.
and the agitators involved themselves in the middle of law enforcement operations. In fact, the nurse, as it turned out, video surfaced, he was actually attacking ICE vehicles, kicked the tailgate out of a Suburban. So
if you put yourself into a situation, I processed in law enforcement way back when, I processed a total of 103 murders and suicides. Okay. For several departments. But of all of those, I've estimated about 40 were homicides, illegal murders, right? Of those, just the homicides, I will tell you that this many maybe were totally innocent victims. The rest of them put themselves in situations where they should not have been. They were doing things they should not have been doing, and they were committing violations of all sorts of laws.
exactly.
It is, don't go blaming everybody else. Yes, it's illegal to that they were killed. However,
It's unfortunate.
if they hadn't done what they were doing, they would still be alive today.
Well, and what happens is you have the left and even certain Republicans that as soon as something pops on the TV, they jump to conclusions.
Of course.
I mean, you look at George Floyd's case, for example. Y'all go back and you listen. I wrote an op-ed in 2020 on American Thinker called "Who Killed George Floyd," and concluded that George exactly, he's a suicide by fentanyl, and we prosecuted this police officer over a snippet of a video that makes it look like George saying I can't breathe because of the officer. George Floyd, there's Axon body cam video going back an hour before that incident. They had George Floyd in the back of this Suburban or Ford Explorer police vehicle. I don't know what it was. And in the back of the vehicle, after they have initially arrested him, he says 7 times, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. He's saying I can't breathe because of fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And then George Floyd said, put me on the ground. He demanded to be put on the ground. So then they take one snippet of Chauvin and don't tell you the rest of the story. And this is what happens with the ICE shootings up in Minnesota, with the George Floyd fiasco, and people just believe it. We've got to be more critical in our thinking and understand that if it comes from the mainstream media, it's probably a lie. We got to start with that assumption and then dig through it. Sometimes maybe it's not, but that's where you start.
There's a semblance of truth in what they report, and there's a whole lot of stuff they leave out, and what's left out is generally more compelling and more truthful than the truth that they're telling.
That's correct. That's right. It's propaganda.
I can tell you that for a fact from history.
You're right on that, brother. Absolutely.
I'd like to, with your permission, if you don't mind giving Lee your number where we can have a direct contact with you.
You better believe it.
And then also your email address, because I want to send you a couple things.
You got it. I'm giving Lee my cell number right now. There's my
Okay.
cell
All
number.
right.
Perfect.
Giving Chris my cell number right now.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
There you go, Ray.
Okay.
Pass that,
There
Ray.
you go.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thanks so much, Don.
And so
And
we're happy
I
to
don't
chat some
I don't
more.
use numbers. I've had Tillis numbers for 12 years, and I think I've talked to him that I've made a call to him on one occasion,
Yeah.
and that was it. I go through channels and 99.99% of the time, but there was something that was critical and urgent. So that's the only time
Yeah.
I've done it.
I
I
got
got
you.
the same thing
I
with
like the
Dr.
channels
Murphy.
too.
I got the Dr. Murphy, the same thing. I've got his number. He's got mine, and he'll call me. He's called me more than I've ever called him.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
That's because you're an important guy.
No, I'm not.
And no. I mean that. I mean, the guys that out here served and they're making things happen, I mean, or
Sound
members
like
of the
a
Congress,
cousin remark.
member of Congress are to serve
Mhm.
we the people. And so good for Greg giving you a call. I'm glad he's doing that's the right thing.
And Walter was a great guy.
Love
Yes,
Walter.
He was a good friend.
And you're headed where, Don, this afternoon?
We're going to be at the Roadhouse Steakhouse here in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Roadhouse. And what's the name of the
Texas Roadhouse.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, Texas Roadhouse on 17.
Yeah,
You have to get up and dance,
Yeah.
Well, Let me make sure I got that right. So we're going to do a let me just make sure I
It's
got
Logan's
that right.
Roadhouse.
Logan, I'm at Logan's.
Logan's Roadhouse.
Yeah,
So we
Texas
are
Steakhouse.
at Logan's.
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 And
Western Boulevard.
right. And so we're going to do a little meet and greet over there with some Onslow Republicans, and then we're headed to New Bern this afternoon to speak with the East Carolina Republican women over there, and anybody else who wants to show. And depending on what our calendar is, we're going to try to make
depends
Vanceboro.
upon his availability and if he's in the area. If there's a little short Italian dude that shows up over there,
Logan's right.
he's a retired Fed. He also is a survivor of the Tet Offensive. He was a Marine.
God bless him. I hope we get to see him. We do.
And you've read his books.
He's been
Thank you.
very responsible and helpful in getting some of our deserved the Medal of Honor.
And there are a couple of issues out there that you need to be aware of too.
Well, that one has taken a step forward.
I know it has.
Yes.
Which one are you talking about?
The Medal of Honor that a group has been trying to secure for retired Major Capers.
I know Major
here in-
Capers. I visited him in his home.
Fine man.
There's several others out there that are pending, and there's one obstacle that needs to be removed. Or corrected.
Well, I visited Major Capers in his home. I support that effort. I know Colonel Dave Gerfine is helping to lead that effort with United American Patriots. Dave is a friend of mine and has endorsed our campaign, by the way. And so I'm all behind that.
You know, Don, these men and women who go to war, come back home with injuries, receive the Purple Heart. There is no reason for them to have to wait year after year after year after year.
Until they're
and
dead.
A lot of them after they have died to receive that award. We need to change that.
Yes, we do. You're talking about the bureaucratic inefficiency that's crept into the Pentagon. It's got to be cut.
Changed.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, real quick, I was in Dallas for Thanksgiving and went to the Honor Museum, and they had a very, very beautiful display about those that have received the Medal of Honor. And the very first person I thought of was Major Capers.
Yes.
It's inexcusable with Capers.
He's a fine man. I just think the world of him.
I'm hoping and praying it'll happen while we still have him with us. It needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah, sometimes there's a stalling deal going on up there, I think, and they we'll wait till they're dead, and then they'll quit complaining.
After he got the Patriots Award, the Fox program, and he was on that, and Pete Hegseth was right there with him. I just figured it's private. I don't know. Maybe Charlie, I don't know. I just figured that maybe they would get on with it.
Well, that's going to be one of my projects from the U.S. Senate. I want to push that. I hope that it happens before I get there.
Okay, you're live and local. Who's this? We've got just a couple of minutes.
Very quickly, I don't want to overstay my welcome.
Charlie.
Earlier, Rayford, you talked about all the horrible things that you've experienced, all the disturbing things that you have seen.
I've never seen anything
Most
disturbing.
of us cannot even comprehend what you've experienced and the things that you've seen. You talked about suicides. You talked about certain things. I'm going to call back another time. Man, that's rough, what you had to go through.
No, the other people had to go through a lot worse than I did.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, most of us can't imagine what you had to deal with. As a public servant.
Mine was just aftermath. And every cop in the world will have to, if they haven't already, will have to go through things that they will live with for the rest of their lives.
I'm going to call another time. It's just bizarre what you had to deal with. I have so much respect for law enforcement. Every time I see a police officer, police woman, I always stop and talk to them. Anyway, I'm going to call another time. Take care.
All right, thank you. It's a contest, but yeah, in other parts of the world, it's even worse. It's a whole lot worse. So anyway, Don, thanks for coming in here. We do appreciate that.
I'm honored. I am honored, and I hope we can do it again soon.
And don't jump up and leave, because I'm going to read you something here, since you are a legal mind, and I read you guys, and don't you spoil it for him one day, because he's going to be tested.
They shh.
All right, don't you spoil it for him, okay? Folks, we'll see you tomorrow morning. It will be weekend eve. It will be the beginning of the weekend.
Today's Friday Eve.
Today is Friday Eve.
That's
so have a
right.
great rest of your day. Guys,
Special guest tomorrow.
48 and counting. These are the last 48 hours, perhaps, of your entire life.
Guys,
as you
that's
know
right,
it today.
guys.
Valentine is
Valentine's
Saturday.
Saturday.
Got it? Don't tell them that I didn't say it.
And tomorrow's Friday the 13th, and vote Tom Brown for U.S. Senate.
There you
go.
There we go.
That's the other thing. And
Good one.
polls are open now in Onslow County, early voting all across North Carolina. So it is, if you have any doubts, do some research. Do the research, but get out and vote. Don't just go willy-nilly and vote, please. Just do your research. I think you will come away with the right conclusions if you just look at and listen. And if you listen to these guys who come in here and they talk as openly as Don has done this morning, give it some consideration. They're willing. They want your vote, and they've got something they want to say. Okay. If you agree with them, cool. If you don't, do what you got to do. Meanwhile, we will see you tomorrow morning live in Local Real Talk, where we are always awake, never woke. Have a great rest of your day and be safe.